stop me from performing. After this silly video that I made, I was shocked at the response. Suddenly we were almost at 400,000 views, and here we are again making another one. Hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
Here, take this.
Is the autofocus on?
Okay, we'll stop. My name is Christina Major. I'm 45 years old, and I'm an opera singer who is currently stuck in her home like everyone else.
Welcome to the hobby game.
The largest audience I've performed to date was in Buenos Aires, Argentina. It's been fairly busy the past year and a half until all of the performances were canceled.
Don't touch anything or anyone.
I've got my wipes. You suddenly are forced to find a different way to get that out and to connect and communicate.
Ah, the world we live in now.
The toilet paper aria was just a passing idea that I had. Toilet paper still continues to be a very hot commodity. In about 5 minutes, I threw together this toilet paper tiara made of toilet paper tubes, and I just posted it, and it just exploded that day. I had no idea this was going to happen. I just, went on and made the second video as a little follow-up in a way. I wish I had my professional makeup crew here with me. Hello. So the next installment from the Toilet Paper Diva is not going to be focused on toilet paper this time. It seems to be working. But I decided to actually send a more pointed message about isolation and what we all should be doing collectively to help each other.
Yeah, those are going on Mommy's costume.
It's supposed to end funny. The message is clear. Stay home, wash your hands, care for each other, and use the time to, be silly at home. Make something of the time. Come here, look at Mommy's costume. What do you think?
It's beautiful.
Oh. The continuity will be the toilet paper tubes still exist. Myself and a lot of other colleagues will continue doing these online performances of some sort. I think as long as we keep joy and laughter and hope in the mix in our daily lives, even if it's just for a few minutes, we will rise from this. And I believe that we're going to be better people on the other side of it.
And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters 2020. I'm your host, Jason Tramm. In my 25-year career in the music business, as a conductor, music director, as a college professor, as an educator in the public schools, as a church musician, and most recently as an artistic consultant, the conversations with distinguished colleagues have formed much of the most inspirational moments of my career. I always take inspiration and great joy from my conversation with colleagues and with audience members. On our new podcast, we take you behind the scenes and make these discussions with distinguished colleagues. Tonight, we interact with acclaimed soprano Christina Major. Christina has had a distinguished career in the field of opera and concert music, and has, in the COVID time, has exploded into an internet celebrity who is delivering joy to hundreds of thousands of people, and she's going to discuss that tonight, that transformation. In this time of separation and isolation, it's very easy to become disenfranchised, to become alone, to lose our touch with our community and the people who matter most to us. And it's so important that we maintain the contact with our artistic communities, with our families, and all those around us. I've seen so many colleagues reach out in extraordinary ways that have never been done before, utilizing technology, finding new ways to stay in touch, to connect. And it's so important that we reach out and always find a way to make people feel good and complete and whole. I'm so excited to share tonight with tonight's guest with us because she's found a way to bring her art and joy to so many people and to make them happy and to find humor in some of the most difficult situations in the last 100 years. So I invite Christina Major to join us tonight, joining us from the Fort Worth area. Welcome, Christina.
Hello, I'm so glad to be
How
here.
is Texas?
Hot. It's about right for this time of year. We're in the hundreds.
The sunshine and the beautiful weather. Well, we're delighted that you're joining us tonight. We're broadcasting from suburban New York City and across the country, and it's through the miracle of technology that we're able to bring this to our audiences, and we're delighted that you're here tonight. Be sure to chat in your questions and to keep in touch with us. We love that interplay. It takes the show in unique directions, and we want you to be part of this show. So tell us about your artistic journey. From operatic soprano to internet sensation. Start with the operatic soprano part.
Well, I had my debut very early on when I was 22 at Opera San Jose. I was a resident artist there, and I oftentimes look back and think that was rather young to be doing the roles that I was doing. But at the same time, I look back and think it gave me this basis of experience that I was able to take to any company I went to. So, ultimately, even before that, it goes back to The Phantom of the Opera, which is, of course, a musical. But it was the first time I'd ever heard operatic type of singing, and I fell in love with it. And so I think from that point on, I was absolutely in love with it. And I had the voice to do it. It was just, my voice was meant to do this rather than so much any other style. So I say opera and I chose each other in a way. In I guess that's the best term I can come up with.
Now, you played a video for me when I met you a long time ago. You played a video, I think you were 4 or 5 years old. And I found that video incredibly interesting because you were already a professional performer. It was just there. Whatever you were doing, you have that gift where you just open up and you enlighten, the audience just lightens up, and you have that gift. So when did you start singing? When was your first public performance? What do you remember?
So my first public performance was at my church, Bethesda Community Church in Fort Worth, and going on 8. I remember I sang Silent Night. And at the time, it was church. It was, probably 12 to 1,500. So it's not necessarily considered a mega church, but for me at the time, the biggest audience my little eyes had ever seen. And so I just remember the minute the lights came on, that was the moment I became unafraid. It was up until then I was, and then the minute I could see people out in the audience, even with the lights, I just felt like I was part of them and they were part of me. I remember thinking that as a kid. It's a rather heady thought for an 8-year-old, but I remember feeling that. And then I had the same experience when I was 22 and I debuted in The Rake's Progress. What a debut opera, by the way. Same experience. Curtain came up and I just felt right at home.
Do you still engage in sacred music? Do you still sing in churches? And
Absolutely. Absolutely. I still sing at church as often as I'm able to. And I'm on the worship team there often. In fact, I just sang for our services this last Sunday. I posted that on my YouTube channel as well because it was such a favorite song of mine. So yes, the gospel and spiritual roots are very, very sacred to me.
Certainly interesting, and that you're still engaged with your home community. And are you still in the same church? Are you still singing in that same location?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, that same church. So every time I walk in there, all of those memories are with me. So it's really wonderful.
I bet we have some members of that congregation on our program tonight, so that's exciting, and it's always wonderful to have new people joining us. And
yes.
So tell me what drew you to opera so much. What is it about opera that captivates a young singer?
The spectacle of it. It's so grand, and anyone that knows me from my childhood on knows how dramatic I was as a child. My poor sister, she just had to put up with it. Love you, sis, because I know she's watching. just always very dramatic and big with everything that I did. I was a huge communicator, and if I didn't like something, I was very clear about it, just very clear in all of my emotions. So opera was the perfect outlet. I was an athlete growing up, but eventually once I discovered singing, I was like, well, this is just a slice of heaven. And it suited my personality to be up in front of people and sharing a story. Even if it wasn't my story, I got to become someone else's story and give people a lift for, a few hours. That was the part where I got to change people's experience for that short amount of time. That was an immaculate thing to me. I loved it.
So we have a question from our audience. Jack from New Jersey asks, what's your favorite opera? What's your favorite role that you performed, and what makes it that way?
Okay, so that would probably be two, because for the longest time it was La Traviata. I loved Violetta. I sang a lot of her. And because she embodied everything that my voice was about, the dramatic, the mid voice, the high voice, the extension, the coloratura. And that role really requires like 3 different types of sopranos, but my particular voice type, is that it all encompassing. It gives me a wider range of repertoire.
So going from that coloratura, the light frivolity of the coloratura in Act 1 to the dramatic soprano almost in Act 3, that's quite the journey for any singer, and all in one night.
Yes. And of course the swooning faint at the end. I mean, I'm exhausted after the evening, so the faint is when she dies. The faint is only appropriate. So whenever you fall over, it's like, yes, I've just done my job and I'm so happy about it. The other one would be Norma, the same kind of concept. It's lots of coloratura, lots of excitement, chest voice, which I love now that I'm an older soprano.
Mature soprano. I would say mature soprano. More mature, yes. So yes, Norma Bellini would be the other favorite. Now, you had a big success with Norma 2 seasons ago? Tell us about that. That was when I got the word that you were making that debut, I just jumped out of my chair. I was so excited to see one of my dear friends achieve something so exciting.
Well, it was because just the year before that, I was just coming back to the stage after having my child, and Norma, which I learned in 5 weeks. I do not recommend that to any soprano, but I was able to focus because my family just, rallied around me, helped with our daughter, and I learned the role in 5 weeks. So I sang it in a company in California, West Bay Opera. Well, then a year later, this opportunity came up at Teatro Colón down in Argentina, which of course it's one of the most famous opera houses in the world. Largest house I've ever sung in, for no doubt. And they had an opening for a performance that needed to be filled. So I was double cast with amazing soprano Anna Perozzi. She was fantastic, and I was able to go down there and be double cast and had my own performance. I remember looking up in this house because I had been in that opera house about 10 years prior. I went there with the Dallas Symphony Orchestra on a tour. We did Brahms' Requiem, and we did not get to perform at Teatro Colón because it was being remodeled at the time and restored. So, but we did get to do a tour, and so I went in, and there's dust everywhere, and I just looked up and said, "Oh my, I have to sing here."
That's sacred dust.
And then I just said, "I will." I said, I will sing here. And sure enough, when I walked in for that first rehearsal, and I just couldn't believe that I was there. And the whole experience was phenomenal. They were beautiful people, beautiful culture, and that was life-changing for me. It boosted me into the level of house that I know that I should be at. So it really was a great experience.
Now, for people on the broadcast who may not be so conversant in like genres and houses, what does that mean? A voice that fills a house. What types of different voices are there, and how would you describe the voices for our audience?
So, for sopranos, we have light lyric sopranos. We have lyric sopranos. And we're talking about What would be a good light lyric soprano? If you've seen, should we talk GNS? Because that exists in Gilbert and Sullivan really nicely. Mabel in Pirates of Penzance. Is that Pirates of Penzance?
Sure is.
Is that right? Yes, just making sure. Sometimes I get them confused. I was never that type of soprano. I always had a more dramatic voice. So then there's your dramatic sopranos, then there is your dramatic coloratura, which it's a large instrument with lots of point, but it can move up and down really fast and high, and it's comfortable doing that even with the size of it. And then there's your dramatic coloratura, moving on into spinto. I have moved on into the spinto repertoire. It's a lot of times dramatic coloraturas and spintos will cross that same repertoire because of the point, the edge on the voice. It's still beautiful, but it's got this dramatic. Callas was a perfect example. I mean, it's got that dramatic edge on it. So that's the repertoire I've moved into now, and it's, it's taken years to develop that, because in a large house of 3,800 seats, and you're not mic'd, there's no amplification, you really do have to give your voice time to develop and learn how to breathe properly and learn how to support what's coming out. And so that was, like I said, that performance at Teatro Colón was the pinnacle of, I finally found the sweet spot. And of course I have the right team to help me as well with my voice teacher in New York. So yeah.
I think your voice teacher in New York is going to be on the broadcast in July, so we're excited to welcome Andrea Del Giudice to our studio eventually. And she's another dear friend of mine and colleague, and we live in a very small community of artists. And
she lives in my throat. She moved in, and she just kind of in there like a little squirrel. And whenever I'm getting askew, she'll just straighten me right up. It's wonderful.
I called her episode "The Voice Whisperer," so I think it's
perfect. It's perfect.
Now, so this may be for members of the audience who are not singers and involved in the classical music scene. How do voices change over a career, and what have you learned about singing through your career in singing?
Technique. There are some voices that what we call built. Maybe it wasn't the most natural of instruments to start, but they worked really hard and got a wonderful technique and learned how to make it beautiful and rounded and poignant. And there are others that are it's just natural. It's, there's not much work that has to go into what is already there, except maybe just learning how not to sing in your own head. Well, that's the category I fit into. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, because at times it can create a laziness of sorts. You think, well, I'll learn that, no problem. I can look at a score, I can sing that, no problem. Now, that's when you're in your 20s, and then maybe your early 30s. But around 33, 34, as a soprano, you go through another change. And it's like hormones, and suddenly, and especially if you have children, but I didn't have a child until later, the voice just kind of deepens, where your passaggio is kind of changes. And so you have to have a solid technique to go with the changes that are happening in your body. And I mean in your body, because singing is all body, and this is just the resonator. So there are physiological changes that happen with all voice parts, but speaking of sopranos, yes. And so as you continue along, you can't just get up and say, I'm going to warm up for 5 minutes and I'm good to go, like when you're 20. Now it's a process. It's like moving a freight train.
Going into dramatic repertory requires every bit of your resonance and your humanity too. It just requires so much voice and so much commitment to your craft. So it's some of my favorite repertoire, as you know, the Verdi, the Puccini is.
Me too.
I live with those characters, and as a conductor, it's my life. I just love to and tell the story and to guide the story and to be with the great artists, the singers on the stage, and to help my singer colleagues to be their best.
Yes, it's rock and roll.
I think we have a colleague of yours, B from Mississippi, said, "Who's your favorite mezzo travel buddy?" That must be some inside joke.
Oh, her name is B-Lo. Brittany. I love her. Actually, we traveled together singing gospel music. I was the token opera singer of the group, and she is a fantastic singer, just a real nice mezzo belter.
Wonderful.
But she's also classically trained, so we often, talked about classical music together. It was
Now
wonderful.
you just
We
said,
still have a dream of singing
you just
together.
said that you also do gospel music, and I'm being facetious because I've known you forever, and I know that you're a
Yes.
acclaimed gospel singer as well as being an opera singer. One of the few people I know in the industry who can go from His Eyes on the Sparrow to La Traviata and to Norma without batting an eyelash. I mean, so tell us what it's like to go from genre to genre, and how does the technique change when doing that?
So that is an excellent question, because I was a gospel singer before I was trained as an opera singer. So I always had this ability to do a nice belty mix. I did not appreciate full belting. It just didn't feel right to me. But I managed over time to learn how to mix my voice and make it sound like I was belting. So I was protecting myself in a way. My Brittany she'd understand what I'm talking about. So as I went along, I discovered, as I was being trained operatically, it actually strengthened my gospel singing, and that the gospel singing actually strengthened the other. It was a very odd mix. There were times I had to much of this, so I've got to open up and create more space, maybe not get it so forward in the nose, and it is quite different techniques, but overall the operatic training I received was so universal, and it really is. If you can sing opera, you can sing anything, just a little tweaking here and there on what you're doing with the technique. And I will say this, one of the most awesome things is to see an opera singer sing karaoke. Awesome.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, well, see, oftentimes I will look for, Summertime or You'll Never Walk Alone or Climb Every Mountain. But my friends all say I'm copping out because that's where I feel safe.
That's the same as singing a major role.
So I like Nora Jones.
Ah.
I waited till I saw the sun. I love it. Don't know why I didn't come. And so just easy, breathy off the voice. And so I mainly stick with lower. I don't do anything high as a pop singer. You don't want to hear that.
It becomes an opera, right?
Yeah.
So we have a question here from a husband in Texas. How are you able to perform roles where you are the bad guy, yet at the end of the performance, people feel for you as you die? I love that question.
I honestly think it's the pathos in the voice. I think that people connect to that early on, even though, my text and the music and my eyes and my face are just very... I'm able to use the pathos in my voice to create a connection. It's like whenever you watch a movie and you see that person you feel like they're just misguided. You start to feel for them. You don't want to just hate them. So there's a fine line, and you can literally change people's minds about what they're thinking by the sounds you're putting out. The sounds are everything. That's what opera's all about. So I tend to, I'll put an edge on it, but I'll make sure that there are moments where I go sweet and try and draw people into me. So it's a tight wire. That's a great question.
Whether it's Turandot or whether it's Abigail, there's always got to be some humanity in even the bad guys. Otherwise, except maybe Scarpia. I don't see much humanity in Scarpia, to be honest, in Tosca.
Right.
But there's always that hint of maybe there's something good about this person, that makes it more human and more emotional when they fall.
Well, yes, like Abigail, you have the whole opera where you're just, oh, what's the word? You're just angry and vindictive, and then you get like 2 pages at the end when you come out, and it's this sweet song of please forgive me, and then you're dead. So it's like you have that short amount of time, but so that means that you must create that connection before then. It's vocal, I think, mostly.
Wow. So tell me about what's it like to travel as a singer. And before COVID, I know you were a very busy singer, traveling to lots of regional places all over. What's it like to travel as a singer? How do you maintain your vocal health when you're traveling? And what are some of the collaborations you most remember on the road?
So, traveling is. I sometimes wish I were a golden age opera singer where I didn't have to go from, this to this to this. The traveling is hard physically. It's physically hard on anyone. But when you're talking about your voice, when your body's not well or if it gets tired, dehydrated, your body, your voice tells you about it. So, I have a number of items that I travel with. And actually, again, Brittany does the same thing. We both wear masks, humidifier masks, and that's not just for germs. It really is to more keep the moisture in, so you're not just losing all your moisture. When the humidifier mask came out, that was the next best thing to sliced bread, because you could get off a plane and go to an audition and you're okay after maybe a bottle of water and you're good, even on long flights. But I mean, the vitamins, the diet, and I've never been very good about that, because when I travel, I love to try things. I'm like all singers. I love a buffet. But as far as traveling, some of my craziest times have been with my gospel singing friends on travels overseas. And I mean, we would sing for hours and hours at night, and then maybe get a few hours sleep, get on a plane the next morning, and the next venue is that afternoon. It was exhausting. With opera, I've at least managed to have, I know this is coming, I'm preparing the role, and at least for right now, I don't know. We're hoping it will get more busy than that as I do my career revival. But yeah, they're quite different, but it's managing just to take care of yourself amidst all, and the allergies, the atmospheric things. You land in a country, it's like Argentina. I land there and it was a little dusty. I was like, you automatically go into panic mode, and there's so many different allergy medications or essential oil. I just got so many bags of things that I travel with.
It's a challenge. Yeah. So Frank from Maine has a question. Our first guest from Maine. Mm-hmm. Do you have family, and do they come see your performances?
That's a great question. So yes, I have a wonderful husband and a wonderful almost 5-year-old daughter. Now, my parents would always come to my performances, probably up until about 10 years ago, and now I just say, you can see the video, or if you want to come, that's fine. My husband always comes. He always shows up, and he'll send me flowers, and he's always so, like the last opera I did, Macbeth, and he sat in the front row. It's always so much fun to not see them, even though they're there. My daughter has not traveled yet. We're not really putting her on airplanes yet. We're going to hold off on that. That's another whole story, but she was born severely premature, so we're very careful about her medical and keeping her safe, and especially during times like this. We're hermits, so thus why I've turned to the internet and turned to an online presence to still connect with people. A lot of people have.
Yes, like we're doing right now. I came up with this idea to get out there and I'm so used to having these conversations with great artists. We would sit there and just talk till 2 a.m. And I said, you know what? I think people would like to pull back the curtain and see artists get together and talk, because there's so much synchronicity when we talk. There's so much, it's like a nuclear fission. Just like ideas explode and ideas come and they go, and it's amazing.
The creativity, it has to come out. It has to come out, and it will.
So speaking of this new creativity, your alter ego, the toilet paper diva, what is that all about? And tell our audiences how that came to be.
I'm shifting my camera so that you can better see my backdrop. So we went into quarantine or isolation or whatever it is. It was called something different in every state. And the minute, I think everyone realized that they weren't able to form or even see people or even touch people, it was a system shock. I mean, it was just to everyone. But I know for myself, I thought, well, okay, I'll use this time to hone my craft. I'll use this time to practice and just, pray that my next gigs, beyond 3 or 4 months don't get canceled. Maybe this will just pass over. So I'll just prepare. And then I started seeing, great other great singers that I know and love, dear friends. They're losing work left and right, canceled. And then my cancellation started, and then it became very real. Okay, so then I'm seeing posts after post of singers wondering, how am I going to pay rent? I mean, things like this, because when you're talking about performance fees, you get paid to perform, not to rehearse. So it's like you could get 2 or 3 months worth of survival off of one gig. So when you lose one, it's like, oh, okay. I started seeing these depressing posts, and it just broke my heart, about people. What are we going to do now, and how am I going to do this? I may just have to hang this up and go work at Amazon, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, it can be a great thing during the time, but if you're an artist, that takes away time from your daily preparation and honing your craft. And so it literally developed in 5 minutes, the idea. I thought, oh, you know what? I love VC Darte. I think I need to do a parody. I think this will be fun. And the biggest thing that was missing from the shelves was toilet paper. I mean, I couldn't even find it. As you can see, I have found it, and I'm very happy. And yes. But anyway, so I thought, well, this will be fun. And it was really something to actually cheer up my colleagues. I thought, oh, just to make people laugh. Okay. So I put my daughter in her bedroom with an iPad because she can't handle the volume and the resonance of my singing in the same room yet. And I shut the door in this very room that I'm in right now. And I put on the karaoke soundtrack to VC Dart. I know it's opera, but it's great. It's great. And so I sat on the bed, set the camera up, and I put taped the words on the wall. But it only took me about 15 minutes to write the words. It just flowed out of me. And so I thought, oh, I've got to get this done quick, or my kid's going to come. He is on my heels. So I sang it. The tiara came together in all of like 2 minutes. I just threw in some toilet paper rolls that I had in the trash. Oh my God. But it ended up looking like Turandot, right?
It did.
Well, I didn't mean for it to. It was just, I was trying to make a small Tosca tiara, but the rolls just lent themselves to Turandot. So, but it's still Puccini. So I thought, everybody will get it. It's funny. It's a parody anyway. So I sang it, and I just posted it. I didn't even bother editing it. I just posted it on the Classical Singer Forum. And like in just hours, and even by the next day, it was like 100,000 views, and then 200,000 views, and then by the end of the week, it had reached like 500,000, and that was on Facebook. I thought I should have posted on YouTube. I might have made some money. But no, it was shocking.
How does it feel to something that you put together just an inspiration to catch fire like that, and then to travel around the world, something in your living room that you came up with and thought it was fun just to make people happy? It struck a chord and became a viral video. How does it feel? Yeah. Well, my husband says I struck lightning in a bottle, and I think that's what happens. I really do, because there are ways you can make videos go viral. I don't know anything about that. I know that there are how-to videos, but this was not the plan. I mean, I didn't even have makeup on. I just had this silly costume. I was obviously not planning on that. But it immediately lifted me when I started getting messages from
all of these countries everywhere, just saying, okay, first of all, you just lifted me today. It's been so hard here. And honest messages, not just complimenting my singing. They loved my singing, but it was like, that didn't even faze me. It was more like how you touched me. And then that struck that raw bone in my body that just has that desire to connect with people. I know you know what that's like, Jason. It's
being a conductor, and
Yeah.
in this time, I've seen all
Yes.
of my concerts disappear, but I decided within a week of everything canceling to keep my groups together by holding weekly rehearsals, by holding times where we get together just to talk, just to make sure everyone's okay, just to reach out there to colleagues. Because depression's a real killer these days when we're all locked home and we're
Yes.
alone and we're scared and we're unsure. And the idea that you reached out with humor and that it caught hold, it's not surprising you did, because you're a funny person. You're a funny person. And I mean, of course.
I'm a nut. I am a bit of a nut, I'll admit it. I was always that way. But, my concern was, as I hoped that I wouldn't offend any opera purists, how dare you take Puccini, and and those thoughts were going through my mind. But at the same time, I thought, what, we've got nothing to lose right now. We have everything to gain from lifting each other up. And so I just took the chance and went with it. And it led to some other songs about the shortages and the complaining through song.
Well,
I
we
love to call
certainly
it.
have enough to complain about these days. It's difficult times. But but through working together and through this idea of humor, I think it's really important that we find a way to engage with our humanity and to blow off that steam. It's so important. I think what you're doing is beautiful. And someone told me this, and it's always stuck with me. It's like, you take your art seriously, but don't take yourself so seriously.
That is such good advice. Wow. Who said that? They should coin that.
I think they probably have. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's just something I've lived by. Is like yourself, who's worked on your technique for her whole life, and you're singing, and you've taken that innate talent, and you've turned that into a career and a beautiful gift to the world. But your humor is totally unique, and you put that on top of your talent, and it's something that no one else has done, and that you are making so many people happy. And I think it was such, when I heard the story and I finally saw what I didn't click on it right away. I'm like, I know you're a wonderful singer, and I was just depressed. So when I finally did, I showed it to my whole family who know you, and they were just on the floor. People who are not even opera fans were just on the floor laughing. And it's only funny because your singing is so good. I mean, it's such a pure Puccini sound and bel canto breath control, and then it makes it even funnier. that makes it even a better performance. So tell me about your first video and you added some more. What's it like becoming this kind of series of things that you're doing?
It is fun because, I get to explore. I stepped outside of opera and did a couple of musical theater pieces, and that was fun to get to go back and do some of those. I did sing some musical theater in college, but so it was nice to do that, and then have people, again, I was like, okay, I'm not a belter, so people, please don't expect, realize, and I prefaced my new videos, I was like, I'm an opera singer using a musical theater piece, but people loved it because the messages were so funny. I made myself laugh with some of the lyrics in the very beginning. Oh gosh, about in the video, the very first one, how it says toilet paper won't do, it clogs the toilet with doo-doo. I mean, where in this world would I ever get to sing the word doo-doo
In an operatic style.
with a right? It's the irony. But no, it's been great, and people have been very supportive and have enjoyed following. So as long as people are enjoying it, I'm happy.
So we have a rumor that you have something brand new that you're going to share with us tonight, a new episode of so should we play it now, or do you want to wait for a few minutes? What do you think?
Oh, you can play it now if you want. If you want to play it now, it's fine.
Let me ask my technical advisor, Quentin, my son, my oldest son, who's going to make that happen. He's going to put it on the screen and show us... When you steak. It's slim pickings and priced sky high. At the end of the aisle is filet mignon that you can't afford to buy. Walk on through the brisket, walk past the ribeye, and don't even think T-bone. Walk on to the great northern beans. It's the cheapest protein now. The beef's outrageous now. When you light up the grill for a porterhouse, but can't afford it today, so you throw on corn dogs to save a buck. COVID-19 has robbed you of steak. Grill on without sirloin, grill veggie kebabs, even chuck roasts are sky high. I'm finally stoked with my teepee supply, but I can't afford what's next? I hate COVID. I'm finally stoked with my teepee supply, but I can't afford prime rib. What's next? I hate COVID. Thank you.
Yay!
I'm so proud of you.
Now we can go to Mimi's now.
That's right. Brava, brava. I had to chat during that. I had to say I'm hungry now. You've made me hungry. I've been shopping so many times and I look at the meat section and there's nothing there. So
It's so painful. You know, you just want a juicy steak and it's just completely picked over. And then what's there is really rough looking and $9 a pound.
and you're in Texas, that should be closer, and you'd think than here
I
in New York.
know. I know.
So how do you get the
Yeah.
inspiration for these different chapters? Now, how can people see your work, Christina? How can people see your toilet paper diva work or your actual opera work? How can they find your unique pieces?
Okay, so my website is www.christinamajor.net. And that's Christina with an H in it. Some people don't know that, but christinamajor.net. And my YouTube channel has most of my work on it. And there's different playlists on it. And there'll be a toilet paper playlist and all kinds of things. Even me playing hockey. So there'll be tons of videos on there, and that's at CLM Soprano or Christina Major Soprano on YouTube. And I also have Instagram and just about everything. It's all at CLM Soprano.
You are the wired soprano. That's great.
Yes, yes.
Now, my children have always been, my children have known you. I've got 4 children. My oldest is 20 and my youngest is 16. And they're all so impressed that you play hockey and you rode the rodeo. You're the only soprano I know that I can say that about.
Oh, I mean, I did. It was the rodeo part was years ago, but yeah, I did do it. And hockey and opera, I know it doesn't really. I've never liked to be boxed in, Jason. I don't know. I just like to try things and do things and.
Well, you do them with
joy.
hockey's how.
Yes. Hockey's how I met my husband. So there we go. We crashed into each other playing opposite teams.
And he played a wonderful role in that last video. I just saw him in the background with his prop of beef and his and your daughter was in there. I love it. What's it like having a family? Yeah. What's it like being having the family there with you and part of these activities? That is something I'd always dreamed about. And I'd wondered along the way because opera it's just like any performing career. It can be very difficult on a family, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes the match works, sometimes it doesn't. But it was something I'd always dreamed of, and I didn't know that I could have kids. The doctors always told me I couldn't, so I'd kind of written that off. And my husband and I just said, that's okay. We'll just do life together. Now, when she came along, it was just a blessed surprise. I'd seen you with your 4 gorgeous kids, and I, kind of watched them grow up, and I just thought, what must that be like? And so when it was finally my turn, and only one, and that's fine. She's wonderful. It's been the most fulfilling journey of my life. It was the point in which things became suddenly not just about me anymore. And now, as a performer, it's a good thing to have a healthy ego and to, draw in your audience and enjoy that. But when she came into this world, suddenly my focus was all on her. And learning a role after the fact is way harder. So many things pulling at the brain. Is my kid okay? What's she doing? Oh, I'm too loud. There's all kinds of challenges now. I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change every curveball that's thrown at me by this experience. And, we're a family of 3, and my husband's, he's amazingly supportive. He's an amazing father. And so the 3 of us, we're just like one little happy pod. And to have them in my corner for, the career and push and saying, we're going to go for this and not, he could have asked me to stay home. He could have. And I don't know that would have worked out, but he could have, and no, he has been nothing but fuel behind me and pushing and pushing. In fact, the idea for him flying her around in the Statue of Liberty plunger and toilet paper, those were his ideas. He puts his own ideas into my videos. So it's not all me. The lyrics are, but he's very creative. It takes a whole team to do interesting things, and I love the fact that you're incorporating your family. I can resemble that remark. I've got 2 of my children with me right in there in the studio. My son's the technical director, and my daughter is on the social media. She's commenting. I've got my son Mason, who's on the show right now. He's been a technical advisor, and I got my daughter Liliana in Texas near Houston, who's also been commenting. So we have the whole Tramm family here.
Oh, hi, Lily!
Who love you and are so excited to see you doing such interesting things. Now let's steer the conversation in a different direction. So, what have you learned about yourself in quarantine through all these projects? What have you learned about yourself and the way you approach your art? Has that changed?
Uh, yes, a confidence level, which is pretty wild because you get used to doing one thing and you do it really well. But there's all of these, like what we're doing right now. There's all of these performance aspects. We're creating a performance of sorts right now, even though it's just you and me chatting. Um, I I've never really considered myself the kind of person that would do really well with knowing how to present a video or, this is, to me, this is like getting to explore a whole new genre of creativity. So it's not just, okay, I'm going to go in the room and practice that aria, which that is no toss off. It's, there's so many levels to that. But now, with this, we're having to all adapt and become multifaceted with our performances. And I think that's I haven't been on stage since then, and I can't wait to get back on stage now, but I can't wait to see how I am on stage after all this, being more aware of, how things look, being able to see myself, because we don't get automatic feedback in live performance. We do it, we throw it out there, and then maybe see a video later. But, I can see myself right now. I can adjust what I'm doing, and okay, I know what looks better. I can hone myself better in this situation. Now, is it ideal? No, because maybe to some that is crippling. For me, and this is where I get to answer your question, it's created a newfound confidence in just me as a human being, opening myself to anyone, to people, and not just on a stage with a costume with all kinds of makeup, because you get to become someone else then. This is me, and I like her, and that's really cool. I think that's what's come out of this for me. Was it hard in the beginning? Sure, but all wonderful things, most of them, you have to come through a hard time to kind of find your way and to find yourself stronger on the other side of it. I doubt there's going to be the things that used to disturb me or throw me off. Those will be more far and few between going forward, I guarantee you, because and I know many singers, many performers will say this, we've all picked up a load of, hey, I can do this. It's either I do it or I'm done. So I can't be
necessity
done.
Breeds innovation, right?
There you go. That's exact. Boy, you said it so eloquently in like 3 words.
As a conductor, I'm used to having 8 rehearsals a week standing, not including guest conducting. So I've kind of, this has been my therapy, is to get here and talk to great colleagues and to just get the word out there. And I encourage everyone.
You're a master.
Oh, thank you.
Of that. You're a master of just creating performance opportunity and you've always inspired me that way. And many.
We have our first caller from New York City. Tom from New York City says, since quarantine, have you lost a lot of work?
All of it.
Describe to Tom who may not be in the industry, what does that mean when a singer loses work?
Tom, did you say?
Yeah.
So basically, Tom, it's you've got gig lined up. Some more than others, depending on how long they've been at this. But that's how you plan out your income, for the year. And yes, it's financial, but you take a role and then another couple of months, you take another role, maybe a concert in between. But again, I mentioned this earlier, we don't get paid to rehearse. So when you're doing an opera, you show up and you may rehearse for 3 weeks and then finally perform, but you don't get paid a dime to do those rehearsals. And if for some reason, right before you get to the performance, you get sick and cannot sing, well, there's all that work and you get nothing. So this has been that times 100 because it's gone. You're thinking, okay, well, I'll have this. Oh, nope. And everyone, one by one,
like a house of cards or dominoes just falling.
Yes, yeah. And just watching it. That's exactly right, Jason. It is. It's so hard to watch it. What a mentor of mine, Darren Keith Woods, who was he's been a mentor of mine since since I can remember. He said something recently in a Zoom chat that we did for a university, and he said, we are all on. So through this experience, I have met people that I have admired and have from and followed, and I have been talking to people that I thought I'd never get to meet, because we're all talking out loud and having conversations about what do we do? Where do we go from here? And they're all, I mean, I'm talking great international singers that are, you know, far beyond my level at this point. I mean, level of experience at this point, because that's where I'm working towards. And then all of a sudden it's just boop, stopped, and we're all suspended in the same
Someone
place.
pulled the cord.
So it's surreal. It's surreal. And so suddenly we're forced, okay, well, now how can I make ends meet? Some people are, I'm blessed with a husband that has a good job, and we're okay. There are other singers that are not married, and it's just them. And my heart just with me, you know. I've seen it happen. I've seen other singers reaching out to other singers saying, hey, give up your apartment, come live with me until this is over. And it's beautiful to see the love and the, you know, coming out through all this, because, you know, singers, yeah, we compete, but at the same time, we're all on the same level. That can be hauntingly beautiful in a way, if that's the term.
Well, certainly pandemics and catastrophic events, sometimes it can bring out the best in people. It can also bring out the worst in people. But I'm seeing a lot of real good humanity from my colleagues, and it's often I sit on the computer and I read people's emails, or I go back and forth, and I'm really moved by some of what I see from the artistic community, because we all have big hearts, or we wouldn't do this. You don't go into a career like this for the money per se. Even you and I, we've both been through very difficult situations in the time we've known each other.
Yes.
And I think it makes us stronger. I think it makes us more resolute to do things that we want to do. And I don't accept no from anything. When I want to do something, I'm going to do it.
Thank you. We've had that conversation many times about it's almost time. The time is coming. It's coming. And that not losing hope. I love always having that with you, because we always talked about, no, it's just right around the corner. You're there. You're there. It's time.
I'm going to encourage my audience. It's time to have hope. I'm going to encourage everyone on the line right now to subscribe to Christina's YouTube channel, follow her wherever you see her, and if you're one of Christina's fans, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Click that bell for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics. We have a wide variety of different artists, and we hope that you could join us as we're going on. Our last question for tonight, Christina. Tell us... What advice do you have for young singers in this era of COVID, people who are just starting their careers and this hits? Go.
We will rise from this. It may not look like that right now. It looks rather daunting at the moment. Any great dream of your life is worth fighting and dying for. So, first, don't lose hope. And that may sound, but hope is the thing that drives us. It drives the art. It drives the creativity. So you've got to remain hopeful. We will find a way. It's like in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. Brittany will probably love that. Sorry.
She has another great question if you feel like jumping into a question.
Oh, yeah. Well, just saying, art will find a way. We're going to find a way to create and keep going. So hone your craft. Do not stop learning. Fill your head. Educate yourself. Work hard. Don't stop because everything seems motionless right now. Because it will, just as quickly as this came along, it can go as quickly away. And then all of a sudden, there will be tons of jobs available. And yes, we're all going to jump in the pot at the same time. Why not you?
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Let's see what Brianna from Bree from Mississippi says. If you could perform with any singer alive today, who would it be? And Mason from, I think it's my son Mason, in the next room, he texted in, who is your favorite conductor?
Ah, Mason. If I could perform with any, okay, this is going to be odd. But I would like to do one of those pop opera duets with Sting.
Ooh.
He is such his lyrics, the mixed meter, there's just so much in it. So yes, I know you'd think it would be an opera singer, and of course there's plenty of opera singers I would love to sing with. But Sting would be the one that I would just cherish doing a duet with somehow. Like, you know how Barcelona with Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballé? I mean, so I would love to do something like that
And
with
I
Sting.
grew up with Sting and
And the
Pavarotti
other
doing
question
Ave Maria. I've heard that recording a million times. Beautiful.
As far as my favorite conductor, well, what I would just be horrible if I didn't say you, Jason. No, look, but let me just take the other route first, and then I will answer this. Down in Argentina, it was the Maestro Palombo, and he was generous, at times frightening. Then he would go back to being generous, but then he always lifted me, but he pushed me so hard. I love conductors that push me and even with tempi, but with interpretation, with drawing things out of me. I love that. So having said that, you're my favorite conductor because you are like, especially with Verdi and Puccini, you're like rock and roll. And I mean that in like the most complimentary way. To me, I love rock and roll. So you find the meat in the score. We're not just waving. We're telling, we're drawing that story out of the players. And you can do that for singers as well. And because you do sing yourself, so that helps. You're a singer's conductor, if that makes sense. That's how I felt like about Maestro Palombo down in Argentina. It was just crazy good experience.
Being a conductor is all about collaboration. It's all about being an opera conductor, and specifically is all about feeling what the singer needs. I was told by my mentor, Alfredo Silipini, who was a very famous Verismo conductor, that my job is to be with that singer, to understand what they need, to give them the breath, to be with them, and to make their job a little easier, because being a singer is such an incredibly difficult role in opera that the conductor can either help them or sink them. And I've seen both so many times.
Yeah.
I made it my goal when I did become a conductor is to be that type of person who can make the job, to make the performance better, to not be about myself. It's never about the person, just like it's not only about the one person. It's a whole production team. And what I love about opera is that collaborative give and take that we all share. That your performances, whenever we work together, always inspire me to be better, and then I want more from you. So we go back and forth, and that synthesis and that fusion becomes just magic to the audience.
Yeah, I cherish that as well. Yeah.
Well, Christina, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight on our new podcast, on our new endeavor, Music Matters 2020. And I cannot thank you enough for sharing your humor, sharing your talent, and sharing your heart with us tonight.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. And I'll be signing toilet paper rolls if anyone is interested. I have plenty. Sorry, that was just shameless plug.
Where's the plug? You have to have a plunger when you say it. You have to have a shameless plug with a plunger.
I got to remember where my husband put that. No, thank you so much. And discussions like these are important. So I hope that, I hope it gets shared and it opens the conversation, because we can't go anywhere without discussing. So this is great.
Well, this will not be the last time you're here. You hope you join us again, and we'll
I'd
talk
be
about
happy
your
to.
upcoming roles or whatever the next chapter will be.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on Music Matters 2020 with Jason Tramm. Please consider hitting that bell and subscribing, joining us on Facebook, sharing our show with your friends. Help us to bring more people into this conversation. Thank you so much for participating with us tonight. Consider supporting us on Patreon. It's MM2020, MM Jason Tramm. And thank you so much. And remember, keep music alive. Good night.